So as we wrap this one up on the question about the Queen and the monarchy and the love-hate relationship that people have with it and the good, the bad, the ugly, I'd love to hear some of your views, especially as a person who served, a good portion of your life dedicated to protect and serve the Charters of Freedom of the United States. That's phenomenal. And you're familiar with what's going on in the civilian world, where if we don't train our veterans to use their incredible skills to pick missions that work for them, it's like being a pinball in a mess, because there's just too many different missions out there. And not everybody out here is protecting and serving the Constitution, the Charters of Freedom, that's for sure. They're not serving it for anything other than their own selfish interest, which the Charters of Freedom actually allow for that. When you look at the Queen, the monarchy, Queen Elizabeth took something on at 21 years old. At 21 years old, as a young lady, that was completely towards a purely selfish, even murderous monarchy, and slowly but surely flipped it, turned it, switched it, took a stand for service. And you have a lot of people hating on that today versus acknowledging that. You got to look at your own life, right? We got to look at our own lives. Where are we stuck in the past? We're not slaves anymore. We're not out there, at least that I could tell, in the masses.
We're not slaves anymore, but are we treated that way still?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So we're not slaves anymore, and are we treated that way? Absolutely, there's people out there with that mindset, but there's nobody stopping you or me or anybody that's listening from self-educating themselves, getting out of whatever indoctrinations that others might be applying to them, and going to create a life that works for them. Someone's saying it's easy, by the way. It's not easy at all. It's a grind. Being a civilian is not easy. It's somebody, boot camp's tough. I go, boot camp is tough, but try the boot camp of being a civilian, where there ain't no guaranteed meal or check. Okay, there's two different worlds, right? Two different worlds.
Two different worlds.
So here you are now.
Things going on.
Yeah, we're in the civilian world. There's a grind.
Yeah,
and it's a grind. So
yeah. Well, the guaranteed paycheck, the meal, the three squares, or three hots and a cot, or whatever you want to call them. That's there for a reason. That's there for a reason.
Well, it's a version of entrapment too, right? It's a version of helping, so you could actually go focus.
That's exactly where I'm trying to get to. Is that the whole point of the you work for or you serve for the check that you get, the medical benefit. Those are things that they've taken off the plate, so you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
So as a civilian, you have to go to work and put in the hours. As government service, military, your mission, your focus is on fighting the fight, being trained to fight, being trained to protect, being trained to be a formidable force. Your job is not to go make money and pay bills. That is not what you're in the service for. You're not in the service to get enough time for a vacation. Your main focus, your purpose, which is represented by the United States Army or the U.S. Navy or the U.S. Air Force, that is clearly sewn on the chest of your uniform. And the uniform that you wear clearly represents what you are supposed to be focusing on and doing on a daily basis, training to fight the fight and training to win America's wars, period. That's what we do. Everything else is taken off the plate. There's no worry about salary. There's nothing you can do about how your spending habits are, but there's nothing. There's nothing about income. There's nothing about medical benefits or medical things that you
Healthcare.
need.
Yeah, yeah.
None of that. None of that. Education. All of that is part of this package so that you can do this thing over here. But when you come out, now you have to worry about all that thing that you didn't worry about. You didn't get up in the morning and go, okay, I'm getting ready to go to the range and qualify. That's all I need to do today. Or I'm getting ready to go to the range and qualify, and then I'm going to the motor pool. That's all I need to do today. No, today I got to go and listen to this guy or gal tell me what to do, tell me what not to do, tell me what they like, what they don't like, and I've got to do all of that while I'm thinking about my bills, while I'm thinking about my family, while I'm thinking about schools, and blah 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 blah. Some things are silenced even though they exist. They're silenced while you're in uniform because they don't become real loudspeakers in your head about what you got to do. Are you concerned about them? They're more ancillary than they are right here in your face. Yeah, you want your kids to have a great education wherever you are, but you're only going to be there to 3 to 5 years, and you're going to move. So there's that. One of the things that the military, all military, has been working on is the resiliency of their force, because it's important that you wherever you go, you don't lose the momentum of where you are. So, but being that the civilian world and the military are two different worlds, the same person has got to be able to transition from one to the other eventually.
Yeah.
And that's part of the things that happens because you're so used to not having to focus on that. Now you're focusing on it. Now that's prevalent in your life. And you in some cases have to change gears from service, being of service, to now taking on a different role. I don't even know if you can, what you
Well,
would
the word
call it anymore.
when you said that, it made me think of saying it this way. You have to go of service to self-service.
There you go. Of
You have to
service.
go.
And I was thinking about that too. I just didn't know how to articulate that. But you're right.
Yeah,
It's going from being of service to being self-service.
yeah,
And that can be a tough thing for people, because the queen was of service. She never had to be self-service because all of those things were transparent. She never had to worry about health care. She never had to worry about a salary. She never had to worry about the great education her kids were going to get and all that. All she needed to do was serve the people and
yeah,
that capacity as queen. The people on the outside of Buckingham Palace had to worry about that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so she was able to dedicate. Now we'll see what the rest of the monarchy does, but
Yeah,
um,
and a lot of people, it's the hate
I don't
thing, right?
understand where and you say that, I'm trying to remember who is saying they hate that.
Oh, if you just go on social media and you see how many people are just pissed off that, yeah, of course, she had everything taken care of for her. Oh, but look at these guys and what they did during slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, and it's all valid. Nobody's disputing that. Nobody,
Right.
at least
Right.
anybody that's a fully functioning, self-determining person, like we try to train here, and veterans and being trainable in that world. I get it. I agree. But why bring the hate? There's nothing you can do about it. Actually, as I'm saying this, it makes me think of one last thing about it. The same way that you have people who can't stand critical race theory, don't want their kids to learn about, what really happened in history, slavery, the Holocaust, the Native American slaughter Holocaust in this country, just the 50s, 60s, 70s, heck, today, to shield our kids from this fake history and the nonsense that the Confederates was anything other than a failed attempt, 2 years at best. It's never a country, it's never a flag, nothing, but it is a mindset that still some people, it's part of our history, but it was never our country, but it was part of our history. The same people who want to defend and deflect all that are on the opposite side. Like there's an opposite side, hating the monarchy. It's like the hate is all over the place versus just accepting knowledge and information in history for what it is. Knowledge, information, and history. Get the
So,
gut check. Get the gut check.
exactly.
Woo, that sucked. Woo, that's not good. Woo, and learn from it and become the human being that you wish they were 100 years ago or something. Because it's not going to, which is what the Queen did.
Yeah. So, have you ever came into a television show or a movie and came in the middle of it and didn't know what was going on in the beginning?
Oh, that's the stupidest thing to do. Actually, Top Gun came out, right? The sequel. And, I saw Top Gun. I'm assuming everybody in the military has seen Top Gun. But of course I saw it back in the day. It's a movie. You feel good. Suspend your imagination. That's what Hollywood's for. So I went to go with my daughters and went to see it late. It's like 20 minutes in. They're still getting popcorn, bathroom. I got up and said, let's go. She goes, why? I goes, I'm not seeing this movie with you guys. Why? He goes, because you're missing like the first half hour. Oh, but it's okay. I go, no, it doesn't work that way. Oh, we want to see a movie with your dad. No. I left. I took him with me. I go, we'll go to another theater. We could watch it from the beginning. And that's what we did. We went to another theater to watch it from the beginning.
Right.
And they got it. They're like, wow. Wow. So like you're saying, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought when you said that.
Yeah, but my reason behind that is because so often we talk about where we are, which is you are where you are inside the movie. And until you go back to the beginning to know what happened, you're going to have issues about what because they did this and they did that. So, do you know why they did what they did? Why did this country become the country that it did when it was already indigenous to a group of people? What happened? What caused it? Who caused it? Why did they come here in the first place? All of those people that came from the UK didn't leave to create a new country per se. They left because they didn't like where they were. They left because they didn't like what was happening there. They left because they said they were being stifled in their freedoms. So they came to establish a country of freedom, which they then put other people in bondage to get there.
No, it's crazy. But it is humanity, right? And here we are.
Right.
And here we are. And here we are. Now, when you speak, you always remind me of some good stuff. I might have said this before in the monarchy, the UK. So when they took over Africa, and I'm, for the historians out there, you're going to say it much better than me. I'm going to say it as I recollect it. So they took over Africa and they chopped it up into all these different countries, right? Mm-hmm. When they chopped it up, one of the things they did is you had tribes that had certain sections. And so now the tribes were East and West tribes, let's say. They just chopped everything up and called it whatever they called it. Everybody took a piece of it, took their stake, and they pillaged the damn continent. Nobody's denying that because that's what happened. Cut to when the continent started to get its own power back, and Africa, and it's still a rising continent, a rising nation. One of the decisions they had to make, which I thought this was very interesting, when all the leaders from all the different tribes, all the people that just had their families split in half, right? Mm-hmm. Their heritage split in half. They all got together and they had to decide, do we go back to the way it was? Or do we just accept these are the new boundaries and let's build and create from here? They took a deep breath and they decided to, you know what? There's no going back. We have to accept these are the new countries. These are the new boundaries. This is what the system is set up to go with. Let's empower ourselves from here. Because trying to go back and saying who owns what and tutus and this, we'll be at war with ourselves forever. And they had the foresight, the heart, the maturity to say, this is what it is. Do over. Let's start now. And this is what America, in many ways, has done, needs to do, could do a lot more of. Okay, do over, go. Like, learn the history, accept the facts, accept what happened. But there's no going back. Just like we're not going back to slavery. There's no going
Right.
back.
Yeah, there's no going back. But at the same time, it's I'm trying to put my finger on it. It has something to do with humanity, but we've got to be able, because moving forward without the realization of where you're trying to go by being a better human, as we talked about before, it means absolutely nothing if you're still going to be a rat jack
Yeah,
person.
yeah. If you're not willing to acknowledge
You
the
know,
bad and complete the
right,
bad and move
right,
forward, it's more.
right,
It's like
right.
putting crap. It's like taking a piece of turd and putting chocolate syrup over it. And, oh, look at this ice
Yeah,
cream. No, it's still turd under it. You got to clean
yeah,
out the turd, and the
yeah,
turd meaning like there's no acknowledgement. And look, and we're up for it right now. It's happening as we speak.
yeah.
I mean, that's a whole political thing. We're not a political podcast, though we talk about distinctions and use politics in the distinctions. Which,
Yeah,
you're right to swing your fist stops at my nose. I'm a big fan of, I call it October voters. Vote.
yeah.
Vote
Well, the
educated.
thing is so
Mm,
the question becomes, we're going to be running out of time here pretty soon. But the
mm.
question becomes, can you be kind to a person? Can you be kind? You know, I we you can go, because sometimes you ask a person to, what do you know and understand about love? It's a four-letter word. But what do you? It's an impactful word. It's a dynamic word. There's dynamic behind it because there's so much you cannot do if you love someone. There's a lot you can do, but there's things you cannot do. And that means you cannot be judgmental of me without looking at you.
Yeah.
That's love. That's talking and speaking to me in love. That's wrapping your arms around me in love. That's holding people accountable in love. But people don't want to be, I don't, there are people that don't tell me about me. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
love you. I'm telling you only because I want you to be better. I don't want to be better. I'm not interested in be better if that means you got to tell me about me. Okay, well, okay, but I'm not going to get angry if you tell me about me. Well, okay, fine. But I don't want you to tell me about me. You don't know me. I know me. You don't know me. Well, but I know how you treat me and I know how you treat other people. And all I'm saying is that, there's got to be a better way of treating people. Well, I don't care about how I treat people. Pretty much, I don't give a damn about other people. Oh, so that's really what the problem is you don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Where did
So,
you? Yeah, what
but
happened?
the thing is we're not going to be a better society because we've not gotten to the point that we can be what you articulate every single time, is a fully functional self-determining society, because we can't be fully functional and self-determining people because we're too much about self, period. Because fully functional and self-determining is another process of hearing, listening, giving, being concerned about other people.
Yeah.
It really is. As I get further along in that training, and I really understand all about that there is not one piece of process in self-determining or fully functioning self-determining that has to do with you. Not one
No.
piece.
It sounds like it could, but nope. It gets you out
No,
of you.
it sure it can,
Gets you out of you.
because but the self-determining is a determination of who you are so that you can be a better person in what you're giving of yourself. And fully functioning means that you can go all through those A's that we
Hmm.
talked about. But at the it comes back down to the very beginning. Are you trainable? Are you going to apply this, or is it all about you, and it's okay to say, I'm willing to be around and I'm willing to give until I don't.
Yeah,
And when is that threshold met? Is it met 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, an hour? Where is that threshold? Because so many people have a point, a cutoff point that says, now I'm not dealing with anybody else. I just want to deal with myself. This is now self-determining. Self-determining means not being of service, but selfish as opposed to selfless.
Yeah, well, when you practice, if you actually practice self-determining, like we're discussing it, you will eventually find out that the only way to really get in is out.
Exactly.
It's participating. So how do a person become self-determining? Again, the simple version is you distinguish that whatever's hooking you out in the world is you. And you're either doing something about it or not. So you got a problem with this in the world? What are you doing about it? You got a problem with that in the world? What are you doing about it? I'm not doing anything about it. I go, then
Well, yeah, I'm too busy.
yeah. So and you have to take care of your base, your home base. Absolutely. I mean, yes. Onward. If nothing else, in honor of the Queen. If whatever years you have left, if you have 70 years to go, like she had at 21 years old, start today. Declare yourself of service, and miracles will happen. Miracles happen. I mean, miracles. It's amazing when you start to become of service. And you got to find a career that's of service. Work is a service. What are you doing in your own house is of service? Are you doing the dishes without complaining? Are you cooking for someone without complaining? Are you teaching someone to be of service by example, not just screaming, yelling, and whatever?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, I'm going to speak to parents. Kids will always do as we do. Gulk. And that's a hard pill to swallow because we see them do some things. We're like, why are they doing that? I go, what? I tell this to parents all the time. I go, it's a good idea to never get mad at your kids for something you never talked to them about. Well, I said it once. A pitfall about being human is that you think you said something once and you don't have to say it again. You have to repeat it 1,000 times until they get it. And if you're repeating it the same way, that's not useful either. You need to say it in new ways, different ways, until they get it from a perspective that they could hear it.
Well, yeah, and I fully agree with that. And let me just add on to that is that you can tell your kids to tie your shoe, but did you ever teach them to tie it?
Bingo.
And so, yeah. And they may not even, when you teach them to tie it, they may figure it out, okay, that's a little bit more complicated than, pulling it and doing the rabbit ears. I'll just do it this way. Okay. All right. The point is, did you spend time enough to where they began to think? Again, it goes back to, they don't always have to think about they don't have to do what you tell them, but should they process what you tell them so that they can, because we need more critical thinkers in the world as opposed to people who just do. There's a saying in the military that says, you salute the flag and drive on, but there's a caveat to that. Is it safe? Is it legal? And there's a third one. I forgot what it was that quick.
Is it of service? I don't know.
Yeah, is it of service? But that there's three elements. It's safe, legal, and I'll get the other one. But anyway, if if they don't meet the litmus test on those three, you got to stop and think about whether or not you're going to follow that order. No order is to be followed blindly, not one, because you have a responsibility to not yourself, but to others when you execute that order. And I believe, in fact, that's how the Queen ran the monarchy.
She definitely turned it into that in a strong way. It took
Yes,
something.
she did.
It took something. I mean, when you look at the more I studied, I was like, wow. Okay, what am I doing with the next 10 years?
I'm sorry. I got it.
Okay, so pause. I'm gonna stop it and then
Mhm.
start again, so you could say it clean and I could edit out that other part.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Actually, I don't need to. I'm going to edit. Doesn't matter. I'll just cut it
All right.
and go.
So what the military, what the saying is in the military is that it's, is it unsafe, illegal, or immoral? If
Wait, what's that?
those
Say that. So what is that? What is that? Unsafe?
unsafe is it? So if you get a, so I give you an order.
Mm-hmm.
The whole process of that thinking about that order is it unsafe? Is it illegal? And is it immoral?
Is it
If
unsafe?
it's
Is it
if it's
illegal?
safe, if it's legal and it's moral, execute the order. If it's unsafe, if it's or it's illegal or it's immoral, it's your responsibility to not execute that order.
That's phenomenal. Actually, that's great. That's almost. It's like it's the first time I ever heard that. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the military, so I wouldn't have heard it. But it's the first time I heard a veteran say that to me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think if everybody in this country knew that, it's reassuring. It's like this is like it's reassuring. Like, if we have a thinking military, if uh, we have a thinking military, and
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
other
Because your
countries could use that.
military cannot afford to be
Mm.
in a overthrow mode, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so and so a lot of people don't understand, why the military. So the military, although it is an entity that is structured to be governed underneath a civilian authority.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
That's right. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, and you have
yeah,
those. Yeah,
yeah. That's so your Joint Chiefs of Staff are military, but your Secretary of Defense is a civilian person. Your Secretary of the Army or the Secretary of all the services are civilians. So your civilian authority has authority over its military, but its military chiefs have the authority over its military because they are responsible for executing military operations. So,
that's
but
phenomenal.
yeah,
Great,
we've
great, great
we've
checks and balances.
we've always, oh yeah, and it's a huge, it's an institution, and you have 5 services, now 6 or 7, that because you've got the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and now Space Force. And so um and this is for another
National
discussion,
Guard,
but
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then and the reserve component,
Okay,
right,
that's what
right,
made it, because you said
and
6, you said 7.
yeah,
That's what makes it 7 there, I think,
yeah,
right?
the reserve component. And then in the reserve component, you have, of course, your reserve component Marines, reserve component Air Force, reserve component Army National Guard, and the Navy.
Awesome.
So all of that being said, there are policies and procedures that are wrapped up in laws and regulations. And there is a hierarchy, which is pretty much no difference than the civilian. The difference between that is that we acknowledge that we've taken an oath, just like the Queen did. And to be honest with you, civilians don't take an oath. They put in their application and they go to work.
Well, I mean, you're right. You say that, well, there's the Pledge of Allegiance. I go, yeah, that's true. I mean, I love,
Okay, we're talking that's a national
yeah,
oath.
no. I'm saying I'm agreeing with you. There's the Pledge of Allegiance, which I liked, I loved. I think it's something to keep for sure. But an actual
But they don't
oath
take that. They've taken that out of the schools, and they don't say that at work.
yeah, well, not
We
all
actually
schools.
say the Pledge of Allegiance at work,
Yeah, and there's the thing is what's
or the
missing for
national
me.
anthem.
What's missing for me, the bullseye, is studying and knowing the Charters of Freedom. I mean, kids don't know what the Constitution is for the most part. Not kids, adults, people. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know the charters, the civil rights bills, and
No, they don't get that. What they get is what's the
Declaration of
flavor of the day,
Independence.
and what's the flavor of the day, Lou?
Yeah,
The Second Amendment. Oh, my gun, my gun, my gun,
yeah. It's well, the flavor of the day is fear
and
mongering.
free speech.
Yeah, fear mongering is fear mongering. A lot of fear mongering
Right.
versus legitimate concern. Be aware what's happening in the Soviet Union. What's happening in Russia does not work, and I'm trusting that the benefit of the Ukrainian war, for example, that it could be quite possibly the tipping point of no more wars. It could actually get to that tipping point where it's like, whoa, this shit's got to stop. But who knows? That's another topic. Onward. I look forward to our next call. I think we're going to have I know we're going to have a great call with a new person that's going to be joining the team. I'll let her speak for herself. In the mortgage business, in the military, you guys have a lot in common. You guys are going to be able to talk, and I'm going to be able to listen and learn even more, like I just learned today. And if you could just wrap it up one more time, because I want to own it, even though it's in the recording, I'll see it. The 3 elements that in the military you have to have before they make decisions that are literally
Follow an order. It has to be safe. It has to be
safe,
legal, and it has to
legal,
be moral in order to
moral.
execute the order. If it's not, if it's the other side of that, if it's unsafe, illegal, and immoral, you do not execute that order.
Yeah, and with that, let's wrap this up, because that's why we're the greatest country in the world right there. Definitely one of the reasons. Okay. Thank you.